All right, page 2 of our notes, okay, for the review. Now we're dividing. If you remember dividing, we're just basically putting the problem. So we're going to take -3 to the third power, right? We're just basically distributing it to all the terms. Okay, so 3, 9, then you're going to use your exponent rules of subtraction. So my first term would be negative is 3, c to the 5th. Okay, negative goes in 8 times 8, c cubed. And that's just going to turn into a -1. So we have a quadratic trinomial. All right, next one. Remember, we're going to distribute the negative sign, okay? So let's go ahead and distribute that. Okay, so that's a negative g squared minus 8g plus 1. All right, then you're going to go ahead and just combine all your like terms. 2gg would be what? G squared. Okay. -8 is -16g. And then 2 and 1 is a +3. We are done, and that is what we call a quadratic trinomial. Okay, with these, basically, sometimes I don't even rewrite it because it's addition. So minus w plus 6w squared minus 12. Okay, so the negative 6w's cancel out, so we have a negative w minus 12. That is a linear binomial. Now, simplifying radicals. Remember, I always make that little list: 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. These are all perfect squares. 49, 64, 81, and 100. Notice the numbers aren't that big, so it's probably as big as you have to make your list. Okay, so how do we break down 24? Well, 4 goes into it, right? So we got 4, 6. And then if you remember the rules for the letters, they're groups of 2. So every group of 2 comes out. All right, square root of 4 is 2. How many groups of 2 can we find for an x? Well, 1 group, right? How many groups of y? I have 2 groups. Now here's all the leftover stuff that's going to go in. Well, that came out, right? 6 stayed in. Remember, we took 1 group out, so we got 1 x left in, and we got 1 y left in. And that's my answer. All right? 108. Well, 36 goes into that, right? So we got 36 times 3. And then we'll deal with our letters in a moment. So the square root of 36 is 6. Don't forget that negative sign, because that's going to be a -6. How many groups? Well, I could take 2 perfect groups out. So nothing's left over with the x's, but we still have a 3 left over and a y. Okay? Next one, 80. Well, 80 has, I believe, 16 and 5. And then we'll deal with the letters. They're both even, so we're going to have nothing left over with the letters. All right, 16 comes out. Remember, if there's already a number outside we're going to multiply, right? How many groups of x come out? 3 groups of x. 4 groups of y. So the 16, all the letters came out. 5 stayed under. Let's clean that up. So we got a negative 16. X cubed. Y to the 4th. 5. Done. All right. Next one, 2/3. Oh, yuck, a fraction. All right. 72. Well, that's going to be what? 36, 2. And you have an x and a y to the 3rd. All right. So the 36 is going to come out as a 6. So that's 2/3 times 6. And then x doesn't come out, so that stays in. And then we have 1y come out, right? 1 stays in. So we have a 2 left over, x left over, y left over. Now, 2/3 of 6 would be 4, right? So my final answer is going to be 4, y, 2x, y. Done. Now let's look at the adding, multiplying, and dividing radicals. Okay? So remember, with adding or subtracting, it's kind of like fractions. You got to find the same radical. So basically, we're going to break all this good stuff down. So that's going to be a 9 times 6. Okay, x squared. So the 9 comes out as a 3. X squared comes out as an x. We get a 6. Let's break down 24. 24 is 4, 6, x squared. All right, so the 4 comes out as a 2. The x squared comes out as an x. Got a 6 left over. And you had that lonely 6 there. Don't forget, there's a 1 in front of there. All right, like terms, well, 3 and 2, those both have x's, so that would be 5x. Square root of 16 minus 6. All right. Reason I can't combine these is because one has an x, one doesn't. All right, next one. Multiplying. Multiply the outside and the inside. 2/5 times 15. That is 2/5 of 15 is 6, right? Inside, 6 times 3 is 18. X squared times x is x to the 3rd. Break down 18 would be 9 times 2, x cubed. All right, 9 comes out as a 3, right? So that'll be 6 times 3. X cubed, well, 1x comes out, so the 9's out. 2 stays under, y. Let's fix that up. So 6 times 3 is 18x with your 2x left over. All right. Next one. I want to simplify all that first, right? 2 goes into 12 how many times? 6. 3 goes into 24. Now remember, this is all under the radical. 8. And then, use your subtraction rule, so that would be x squared. Now we just got to break down the 8. The 8 has a 4 in it. 4 times 2. We should know x squared is going to be coming out in a second. All right, so the 4 comes out as a 2. Oh, and the x came out, right? And we got the 2 left over. All right, so we're going to have 6 times 2 would be 12x. Radical 2. All right, running out of a little room here. All right, last one. I like to clean it up first, okay? Well, if you'll notice, the only thing I can do is get rid of those x's, can't I? Or basically subtract them. So I got -5. If I subtract my x's, that's 2 and 1, so I would just have a x left over, right? I'm going to have a 2 and a 3. Now, if you remember, we can't have radicals on the bottom, so we are going to rationalize it. That means we multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3, because that's going to get rid of that, right? So let's look at what the bottom looks like. That's going to be 2 square root of 9, and the top is going to be 8, 24, 8 times 3 would be 24x. We still got to clean that up a little, right? Well, we know the bottom. Okay, I'm going to continue here. So the bottom is going to be 2 times square root of 9 is 3. So that's going to be 6, right? The numerators are going to be -5. Whoa, 24 has a 4 in it, right? 4 times 6 times x. So the 4 is going to come out as a 2, right? So it's going to be -5 times 2 would be -10. And then the 6x is left over. Whoa, a lot of work there, right? All right, last one. I asked you just to find the area, not the perimeter. All right, so you're going to do 2/3. You do base times height divided by 2. That is the formula for the area of a triangle, right? So you're going to do 2/3, right, times 12 m squared n cubed times 2 12m squared n cubed. Okay, multiply the inside and the outside. 2/3 times 2 would be 4/3. 12 times 12 would be 144. M squared would be m to the 4th. N cubed would be adding them, n to the 6th. All right. Square root of 144, perfect square, comes out as a what? 12. So we got 4/3 of 12. M to the 4th, right? Now we're going to multiply those. So groups of 2, m squared, and 6. How many groups of 2? 3. All right, now I'm just going to clean that up. Now remember, we got to divide it by 2. Okay. Well, 4/3 of 12 is 8. I'm sorry, 4/3 of 12 would be 16, not 8. 16 m squared n cubed divided by 2, right? Ooh. 2 goes into 16. 8 times m squared n